Okay, it's a week until I do 250 miles over 5 days cycling from London to Norwich. What have I got to do to the bike first to prepare it? Well, first thing I've noticed is that you probably can't see that. There's a little bit of play in the bearings on the front hub. So I'm going to take that out, adjust it, re-grease it. At the same time, I will check on the tyres and tubes. I may even put some fresh tyres on it if I think so. And the stays for the mudguards are rusty from where it was a little bit neglected before I got hold of it. So I'm going to clean those up or possibly replace them. And whilst I'm doing all that at the front, I'll clean and polish the forks, check all the threads are free on any bolts, grease them, tighten them back up, clean and polish the forks, and make sure the brakes are well adjusted. Let's have a look at what we've done. Well, the front hub is now rebuilt, re-greased, and the play has gone. I've also decided to put some new tyres on it. They should be a little bit lighter and hopefully more responsive than the old Schwalbe's that were on there already, which were quite heavy. As you can see, the fender, mudguard, whatever you like to call it, has been taken off, but I need to give that a good clean and address the rust on the stays. In the meantime, I have taken off both front brakes and re-greased the posts, put those back on. All the little fixings that are on the forks, if they come into focus, have been loosened off, oiled, tightened back up to make sure they won't get stuck. So next I'm going to give the fork a good clean and get some polish on it. Then I will get the mudguard sorted out and cleaned up, back on, and then put the wheel back on. After that, I'm going to move on to having a look at some adjustments to the cockpit, but I'll talk about that more later. One thing I did notice that explains why my brakes are squealing is that there's no wear on the fronts, the toes. So clearly my attempts at getting those to toe in when I first put them in weren't working. Have to make some effort in that direction. Let's have a look to see what we've got to do to sort out these mudguards. There's no cracks in them, which is good. I'll need to clean up and sort out the bolt to go through the top of the fork yoke. As you can see, they'll definitely need a clean. There's a bit of fluff and all sorts of things on there. Let's see if we can get that in focus, that's better. And the stays are very rusty, so they'll need sorting out. One thing I have done already, we had, if we can get that again into focus, two self-tapping screws in the back of it. I assume somebody had a makeshift mud flap on the back at some point. I've taken those out and I'll decide whether to fashion a new makeshift mud flap or just fill and colour in those holes. Well, the mudguard stays took a bit more than just a bit of wire wool and oil. I needed to get out some abrasive paper, give them a good clean. So I'm going to treat the brackets to some rust killer, so the bits up here and here, and then I will get some polish on the stays that are now looking a bit more silver than they did before. Because the rear mudguard stays look a lot more corroded than the fronts, instead of moving on to the cockpit next, I'm going to sort out the rear wheel, tyre and mudguard. So that'll be the next thing to do. Right, so the mudguards have been cleaned, the mudguard stays have had the loose rust rubbed off, and I've rubbed the rust off the brackets as well and applied some rust killer to that. So I'm going to polish up the seat stays with some sort of wax polish to keep the rust off temporarily. I'll probably eventually replace these with new ones. What I've also got to do is address the awful reflective tape that's put on there. I suspect I'll need to remove some sticky stuff once I've taken that off. But the main thing I want to do is repair the reflector. To do that, I'm going to have to undo a bolt at the back, which I suspect will be a bit reluctant, and hopefully I've got a reflector taken off another bike that will just pop in place of that broken one there. Well, the reflective sticky tape came off surprisingly easily. Let's hope the reflector's as quick to fix. Just leave me a little bit of extra cleaning to do, and hopefully things will be sorted. So let's see how she looks. I've slightly tilted the handlebars down. The tyres are swapped out. The front hub is repacked with grease and adjusted to take out the play. The stays on the mudguards are now silver instead of rust coloured. Everything's looking good at the front. We'll move to the back. Still need to fine tune the seat position, but that'll come in time. Everything at the back has been taken off and cleaned. You can see the mudguard no longer has a broken reflector and some dodgy reflective tape on it. We've also got lovely clean bolts with greased thread so they shouldn't stick. All in all, she's pretty much ready to go on a tour. I might fine tune the brakes a little bit before then, but pretty much good to go.